What are these seniors describing?
Praised.
Agitating.
Aging. Overwhelming.
Mind-boggling.
Awful.
Horrible.
Nuisance.
You guessed it, these seniors are describing the college application process. It's no secret that the whole process, test prep, essay writing, applications, recommendations, counselor meetings, is, here's my word, dizzying. And this is nothing new. According to a 2019 survey by the Washington Post, 66% of high schoolers describe themselves as often or always worried about being accepted in their chosen college. But experts and students agree that these anxiety levels have gone to nuclear levels since the pandemic.
My understanding is that the mental health and stressors this year and last year definitely has affected students' college process much more than any years before.
This is Deirdre Eckelt, who is a clinical therapist as well as one of the advisors of the Staples Teen Awareness Group.
It's been so many shifts and changes, and not knowing our school is going to be test optional. Is my lower score, since I really didn't get to show my best effort in math last year because we were on Zoom. I think there's a lot of doubt and concern that everyone did maybe as well as they could have on standardized testing, which then, maybe comes a little bit of anger at the system. Like, I can see students, they're angry that they didn't have maybe what their older siblings had. Their older siblings had a normal system, felt somewhat fair, went to school and everyone had the same, every school they had the same thing. But here now with COVID, everything is kind of, you never know what it's going to be the next month.
So what impact is this having on student lives?
I'd say people are overwhelmed. I think a few of my friends are down on themselves because they haven't gotten into colleges they wanted to. And the saddest thing to me is that high school is supposed to be a time where you're learning and exploring, but the pressure of college means that many people are having to be obsessed with their grades / building a resume that is not as genuine as it should be.
That was senior Gabe Chinitz, echoing the thoughts and feelings I heard from many students, and that Eckelt says is widespread throughout the community. So, how is Staples administration responding to this rise in student anxiety over college? William Plunkett, the director of guidance at Staples, shared with me the steps that the guidance department is taking to alleviate some of the pressure that students feel in the college process.
So we have 10 school counselors plus myself. We have 4 school psychologists, 3 school social workers. We have an outreach counselor. We have a licensed alcohol and drug counselor, a school resource officer who is very involved in helping and support of students. We have health teachers who are really committed and making sure that they're giving everybody the strategies and stuff. So there's a lot of resources here at the school to try and help students along the way. A lot of what we do is sort of individual. It's students coming in and helping to problem solve and helping to sort of validate some of the concerns that they're feeling. Sometimes there's only so much that we can do, and especially in a pandemic like this, like we're all facing some of these kinds of things. Like, it's not necessarily unique to an individual student. We all have, as grown adults, challenges in our own lives that we're trying to sort of grapple with. So sometimes it's just sort of validating where students are coming from. Sometimes it's helping them sort of develop coping strategies or ways to better manage their academics, or thinking about how their extracurricular commitments might fit into kind of what they want to do moving forward, and kind of finding a balance. It might be helping to navigate relationships and talking with their family, or assisting in connection with like outside treatment providers. So like if they really need to be seeing somebody outside school for counseling, we're providing those referrals.
As Plunkett shared, Staples has 11 guidance counselors, 4 school psychologists, and 3 school social workers. That sounds like a very robust infrastructure for supporting students. But in fact, according to ctcounseling.org, those numbers are very much average for a school of our size. For starters, given that Westport is not your average town and Staples is not your average school, wouldn't it make sense to have more than the average number of support staffing for college prep and mental health? This would support an idea shared by senior Hannah Kale.
Something I think the school should do in order to prioritize the mental health of students during the college process is, I think, requiring a monthly meeting during the college process until you've gotten into the school you want to, or at least at one school, is requiring a meeting with your guidance counselor, because I think that just checking in and making sure that everything is okay and that you're okay is going to be really important because this is a really hard time and process. So I think having a meeting and just making sure that the students are okay rather than having these meetings where you're just talking over the process that we are already going through doesn't really add anything. So just making sure that everyone knows okay is really important.
More staff would certainly help students and take pressure off of the counselors like Mr. Plunkett who are already working so hard to support us. But there's a bigger issue here, and that is the obsession with achievement, success, brand name colleges, high-earning careers that grip not only Staples students but many families as well. Senior Lily Kaplan shares her thoughts with regards to this idea.
It's just a society type of thing. It's like everyone in Westport has this idea that they have to work so hard to go to a really good college.
What's especially tragic about this is that these feelings are real, but they have no basis in reality. A landmark study in 2002 by economists Stacey Dale and Alan Kruger found that for students who are already high achieving, going to an elite college has no measurable benefit to their future salary. Derek Thompson, who mentioned this study in his recent article for The Atlantic magazine, calls the college admissions process a wasteful pageant. These collegiate sweepstakes, he writes, leave a trail of frazzled parents and emotionally wrecked teens already burdened with rising anxiety. So, how can Staples put an end to this wasteful pageant? Plunkett suggests that the school is already trying to emphasize broader post-graduation options, like trade schools and gap years.
And not just at Staples too, so one of the things that we're always up against is we see students who by sophomore and junior year might find that like Staples isn't necessarily the right fit for them and may wish that they would have pursued like going to Wright Tech. It's in Stanford and it's a technical school that's open to Westport residents and other residents of Fairfield, like Lower Fairfield County. So coming out of eighth grade counselors are doing more and more to try and promote options like that, or the Sound School in New Haven, where if you're really interested in marine life, or Trumbull has a regional center for the arts. Like if you want to do a half day in the morning at Staples and then pursue, whether it's graphic design or performing arts or something like that in the afternoon, you can do that there. So we do what we can to try and promote those options for students. And here too, if you're a Staples student, like I would personally, I think any one of us in this department would love to have there be more options available that are sort of practical, hands-on, outside of kind of the traditional academic realm, where kids who don't necessarily love to sit down and write papers are able to do things that are going to help them thrive and feel like they can excel, especially because coming out of some of these programs, like you might find at a place like Wright Tech, like you're going to get jobs. Like, try finding an electrician now or somebody who needs to come in and fix your air conditioning. I think there's really viable careers out there that we want to make sure students are exposed to. This year, we're also starting sort of like a career exploration webinar series where students grades 9 through 12, we're hoping, are going to be exposed to different career paths and just kind of the mindset that goes into thinking about their futures. So we're going to have Staples alums who are going to speak to sort of what they're doing now, what they've been up to since Staples, how they got there, the sort of obstacles that they've run into along the way, things like that, which I think will be really helpful to kind of expand students' outlook and hopefully, to get to sort of what you're starting with here. Like the whole idea is that you're feeling good about yourself and what you have available to you in the future, and knowing that like I don't have to get fixated on just these 5 colleges, and if I don't get into one of these 5 colleges, that the world is going to end. Really thinking about like, okay, there are so many possibilities that exist for me, and I'm going to be okay. So I think that's a big goal of ours, and we're trying to do as much programmatically for all students, and on an individual level, just with students who may come our way who we know are already thinking about those other kinds of options.
Superintendent Thomas Scarice's strategic plan for Westport Public Schools, he emphasizes that social-emotional wellness is as important as grades and activities to student success. So perhaps the culture is changing, but we still have a long way to go. And for the seniors right now, waiting with held breath for their admissions decisions, the stress continues to build. I'm one of those students taking deep breaths, fighting panic, and hoping that for future students, things change.